Okie dokie. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 8th, 2017, and we are going to do some stuff. Yep. So, hopefully, everyone had a good couple days, whatever, since last time. I've got some stuff to work on for the recorded videos, but I think I've got my example projects done, so that won't be an issue. Like normal, if anyone has any questions, comments, feel free to try to ask. I'll help out as best as I can. Other than that, we're going to work on whatever project is currently being worked on. My cat lets me. There we go. And that will be some weird, funky RTS interface thingy. So basically, we worked on AI for a little bit, got some new AI examples ready. And then we worked on networking over the last couple of weeks to try to understand the basics of it. We got networking in a pretty good state. We got our team mode finished up on Monday. So what I'm going to work on now is for fun. Well, obviously everything's for fun, but try to make basically an adaptable user interface similar to like what you'd see in a traditional RTS. We're going to do it the really stupid way. Just try to hack and hard code everything just to get something working, and then we'll slowly move it over. My thought is to a more dynamic data-driven system, and then add in some multiplayer to that networking. So, just to have basic networking working where a user interface tells the server to drive functions, and then add the little bit of AI into that, so that way when you clicked on a person, you could technically click somewhere else and have them move. Nothing fancy. This will not be a full real-time strategy game. This is just intended to try to bring three systems together and try to make something that's usable as a concept. I can almost guarantee we're going to do it wrong in the beginning just because I can't really think of the best way of doing this. So we're just going to have some fun. So the goal today is just to try to get some really simple event-driven UI created. Basically, we're going to create a few objects. If I click on the object, that object is going to populate the UI with its own specific stuff. So that way we have a very basic, generic, object-driven AI. So good morning, Morpho. Good morning, Sterling. Good morning, anyone else who may be hanging out. Let's see about getting this started, shall we? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to block out a UI is what I want to do. And I'm also going to grab the things I know I'm going to need. So I'm going to need these items out of here. Copy them over here. We'll rename them. This will be our RTS character. This will be our RTS controller. And this will be our RTS game mode. Save our current map into our RTS. So we have a map we can set our game mode on. And then let's run this quickly and see if everything works. We'll play, and we have, okay, I need to change my HUD, but we have an RTS game mode, okay? So now let's actually set our stuff up here. So we have our RTS character. We have our generic HUD. We have our RTS controller. And everything else can be the same. We'll test it again. RTS character, controller, and game mode. Good. So we have our basics. At some point, we'll switch this over to kind of like a top-down view. This is just, again, we're just going to try to hack and get something basic working. And let's give this a little more room here. It's really big. Yeah, let's go something like that. Okay. So I can't find my UI because there's a cat in the way. There we go. So traditionally, when I think of an RTS, I think of stuff like StarCraft and Warcraft and things like that. And their layout is fairly standardized. We'd have something like a map down here. We'd have something like what you currently have selected status section here. We'd have something like I don't know what the hell you'd call this section, but this is ability section maybe? action. We'll call it the action section is what I'm thinking. But this is where things like you click on a vehicle and it has things like move, stop, hold, and then any specific things to that vehicle. And then we have our game itself generally up here. So this is the basic layout I'm thinking of going with. Just so we have some stuff we can work on. And the key here will be, well, I can make a simple map. So we might make a simple map because a render target, render texture, render target. I think it's render target. Anyways, the render whatever is really simple to make a map. This is the primary thing that we're going to be working with here, our little action section. And we're going to make it where this is a generic reference inside of our HUD. And whenever you click on something, it's going to ask it to create its own HUD. And it's basically going to fill up this section with its own things. Hello, everyone else. The stream starts roughly 10 minutes before now. Harry, we are basically going to try to make a kind of like a data-driven HUD system, similar to what an RTS would use. So we're going to use an RTS as our example. I'm just blocking out my basic layout here. We're going to make it really stupid in the beginning, then we'll slowly move it over to make it a little better. But the point here is you click on something and the HUD will change appropriately. So a building may give us build options, a unit may give us move options, another building may have an upgrade option as well. So we're going to try to show how you can make a UI adapt to interactions. And we're going to do it really stupidly today. I just want to get something on the screen working. And then we'll slowly move it over from there. And it's just, again, it's a concept for fun. Okay, so let's nuke this. Let's make this into a box. Now the question here is, if we go with a see, we have a uniform grid panel, but the problem with the uniform grid panel is you do, let's grab an image. We'll slap 2 images in there. The problem with the uniform grid panel is you basically set up the rows and the columns. Which is kind of not what I want. I want to be able to like just say add an item and have it automatically fill it out. So a uniform grid panel is not going to be what we want. I don't think a normal grid panel is going to give us what we want either. Yeah, because it's going to have the same thing, the rows and the columns, except it will automatically fill, basically, rather than being a set. And I could go with something like a horizontal box. Do we have overflow on the horizontal boxes? Let's just replace our grid panel with a horizontal box and see if it lets me. Okay, so a horizontal box. Yeah, see, I don't think a horizontal box is going to give us overflow, which is what I kind of want. Overflow would be nice. So basically, if I added in 4 items, I'd end up with 3 and 2. I guess we're going to have to do a little bit of bookkeeping here. We'll have to send the information. Yeah, so we'll go with a uniform grid panel, because that'll give me technically the desired result visually. And we'll just have to do some bookkeeping in the background, unfortunately. And that is a bummer to hear, Harry, but yeah, that's unfortunately how it goes a lot of the time. Work and not work is really difficult to manage. Let's anchor this to the bottom right. Let's anchor this over 1 and 1 to the bottom right. We're gonna, we're not gonna size this to content. We probably should. Okay, this is quick and dirty. We're not gonna worry about sizing this thing to content. Again, we're just gonna make this thing quick and dirty. And let's see, negative x is going to be 25, negative 25. There we go. So we have it off center. There we go. So that's going to be our basic thing. It's going to be 400 by 400. And we're going to go with a... let's see. Let's slap a couple images in here. Because these are going to... Yeah, these are technically going to be buttons. without the button appearance. So let's see what happens if we slap a couple buttons in here and lay some setup. I'm thinking a 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll never probably use 9 for this example, but I think a 9 example would be good. So we end up looking at something like this. Obviously, we don't have our layout working very well at all, but that's not much of an issue. Okay, so let's set up. Let's see, we have 400 by 400 with 3 of them in there. That gives us what? Should I just do 300 by 300? And then just do an even 100 for each one, 75 for the icon, and 25 for the padding around it. Yes, basically this is a lot like an RTS. I'm from California, United States. This is going to be similar to StarCraft because that's primarily the one that I've played. And all the stuff we're doing right here is technically not even going to matter because we're just going to fill these in later. But I wanted to see what we could do. Okay. No, this is not Zelda. Zelda will be the next game I will attempt to recreate. Right now, we're just going to do a dynamic user interface. Okay. Okay, in our uniform grid panel, if we did 10 for the slot padding, something like that, that should work. That should be the basics of us, what we're looking for. Something like that. And then we'll just simply add the buttons in dynamically based on the data that we want to fill them up, give them IDs. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. You know what? I wonder if we should just leave it at 9 and then hide ones we're not using. Would that be a super simple way of doing this? Where's our visibility? Stupid. You know what? Let's try that. Let's grab our controller. Let's see. When the controller loads up, we are going to... Actually, our HUD's going to handle everything, so we need a new HUD class. Because I'm planning on doing this in multiplayer later, it would be smart to have the HUD class because that's the easiest way to do things in multiplayer. So let's really quickly do this. Okay, so go back to our game mode, set up our HUD, and let's see what happens. Okay, cool. So it works, and the hidden works. That's what I was checking for right there. Okay, cool. I'm thinking that'll be the easiest way. Again, the point of today is to try to get something really stupid and simple working so we can adjust it later. Why is this the easy way on multiplayer? The HUD class right here is only on the client. It is not on the server. So if we have the HUD class create and manage all of our HUD, we'll know that it's only on the player. So that way anything that's called is only going to be called by the client on the HUD because only the client should have the HUD. And you can always get the HUD from anywhere just by simply, getting the HUD and casting it. So from anywhere when the client does anything, we can access our HUD itself and we can make sure it's only on the client. It'll still be the widgets. It's just the HUD class is going to create and manage all of our widgets. Because keep in mind you have a HUD class itself. The HUD class was used for the original, I'd call it the immediate mode GUI stuff. But you don't need to use it for that anymore with the widgets. It's just something we found out when we were going through the networking. So, let's Let's throw through more things in here just to get us the basics working. This will at least give us our mouse interface now. There we go. Okay. Let's create a few more items in here. Let's make a new folder and let's call this one RTS. We'll call everything a unit because it'll make it easier. Again, this is supposed to be extremely generic. You know what? I'm going to go with BP building. I'm going to go with something like that because those are traditional staples in an RTS, buildings and units. So for now, let's give ourselves a new root scene component. Let's add a static mesh in here. And let's give it a generic look. Let's give it a box because boxes work really well. There we go. So we'll go ahead and create that in theory if we want to make a building. That's going to be our generic building. So let's see. Yeah, kind of trying to make an interactive user interface. If the server's not dedicated, gets a HUD too. No. Technically, no. The server part of the listen server doesn't get a HUD. It's the player part of the listen server that gets a HUD. It's really weird the way listen servers work. But in the case of that, if it's a listen server, the client portion of the listen server does get its own HUD. Let's see, any possibility to round off the walls or just blinds? What do you mean by rounding off the walls, Ben? Banksa? Yeah, this is kind of meant to be an interactive user interface where, like, let's say I click here, we'll spawn a building, and it's going to have the generic HUD interface elements if we don't have anything selected. But if we select a building, we want this to change to whatever the building's options are. Or if we check the unit, we want the unit to refresh and have its options. So we're just trying to really quickly hack something together right now, just to get a basic interface. Which means technically I need to define what it would look like if we have nothing. So let's just knock this out in the HUD class itself. So here's our HUD class. We're gonna make a custom event. We're gonna call this show default HUD. Shouldn't be show default HUD. Show default action items. I'm gonna call it an action bar down there. Action bar. I'm gonna call this the action areas. What I'm gonna call this. And that's where we're going to put all of our stuff, inside the action area. Okay. So we should define a couple things. So right now we need to somehow define how we're going to put stuff into there. Yeah. I'm trying to make this super duper generic, but not too generic. The proper way of okay, so the proper way of doing this is probably to have this be fully data driven. You define your actions somewhere else, maybe in a spreadsheet or a data table or something like that. So you could have things like an action ID, the title, the icon, and you could define what happens, like, you know, call event such and such or whatever. And then you simply could take your unit or your building and say, this building or unit contains these actions. And you could even then not necessarily subclass it, but put another requirement in there, such as a level. So if something was upgradable, you could say it has these actions and it requires this building level. So you could easily add in these new things later. Let's see. So there's a question here from Imager. Let's see what this is. Hello, Kriya. let's see, imager.com/something. Straight road, curved road. Let's see, and the question was round off the walls or just splines. Yeah, for something like that, you'd have to use splines or you'd have to use pre-built meshes that are automatically curved. You can't really round. Well, I mean, technically, you could round it if you used a material and a shader function, but physically, it's just going to look well. It's going to look different, but physically, it will not be different. So things like collision and such won't work. Your best bet for changing a road, because this is kind of what he's asking right here, is going to be meshes. So you're going to have specific stacked meshes you'd build out for your road, or you could build it along a spline if you wanted. Either one would work. You can't really curve it without those. Glitch's question: can you make a tutorial for making matinee movement with a branch and input? Matinee is not used anymore. Sequencer is replaced it. I'd recommend looking into how to do sequencer. I cannot work on that right now. I do have a few videos on the channel regarding how to use sequencer in the intro series. If you look at that, it does show how to create a sequence and moving a camera. This is our HUD, right? Okay, so this is what I'm going to try to do. Create action item. Okay. Create widget. Okay, we are going to make a new user interface widget. We'll call it a widget. RTS HUD action item. So this is the actual item that's going to go inside of our thingy. Where's our HUD? Where do we put our HUD at? Here we go. So these items right here, these buttons, I'm going to replace with action items. Now that we've determined roughly what we want. So I'm just going to make a generic item to work. So it's going to be a button. The button's going to have no background. Whoops. And the button's going to have an image on it. And the image is going to fill. And the image is going to be a variable. Like that. And then we'll probably do event dispatchers so that way the buttons, when they're pushed, can talk back to something else. We'll see about doing that. And hello, Original. Yeah, feel free to ask your question. I'll see if I can help you. Okay, so, okay, here we go. So something super simple. This is not going to do anything right now, but we want to make sure it works. So let's find, here we go. This is going to be our HUD action item. This is going to return back a valid action item. We'll bind in here at some point, but we're not worried about it right now. And then we're going to, okay, so we're kind of jumping sideways at this point. We don't actually have anything to add this to. So in our begin play event right here, we need to make sure we promote this to a variable like this. And this is going to be our RTS HUD reference. So now we can always get a hold of the HUD if we need to. Now I know I'm going to need to get a hold of the action bar, so I'm going to go ahead and action area. I know I'm going to need this later, so I'm going to go ahead and make a variable for it as well, so I don't have to continue to cast to it later. There we go, like that. And we'll call this one our action area reference. And move this over a little bit more, and we'll fill in our HUD. Okay, now nothing should change when it runs. Yep, we just now have an actual reference for our action area. So in here, we can, let's see, this is going to be, we're going to technically need a reference to this, maybe, but we'll see about this. So here's our HUD. So let's grab our action area reference. We're going to add a child to our uniform grid. We're going to add the one we just did, like that. Okay. Go back to our HUD. Let's go ahead and nuke everything inside of here so it's back to blank. And let's just simply call create action item once and see what happens in our begin play event. So we'll go back here and we'll do create action item like that. Let's see what happens. We should get that. Yep, we get a button. If we were to run this multiple times, we're going to get the same thing. They're all going to technically stack on top of themselves. Let's see. You don't need to plug in anything to owning player. If we're talking about this, you technically never need to. By default, it's going to get nothing. You don't have to have one. That's one thing when you create a widget. I almost never plug one in. I don't really know why. Let's see. This one's create widget, right? Let's find out. You know what? I never actually looked into what happens if you don't fill in anything. Let's see. Create widget, and this is the CPP. Oh, this got its own node. Okay, let's see. Player that owns the winner. Let's see. Owning player pin. What's it gonna default to? Okay, owning player pin. Get no. Blah 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 blah. It's no. Blah blah blah. Owning player pin. Blah blah blah. Okay, it doesn't look like. Yeah, it looks like it's just going to default to nothing, basically. And that's not really a big deal. So basically, it'll be null. I've never really done it. It's probably useful for some reason. It's not defaulting to anything. It looks like it's going to default to null, which is probably fine. What happened? That's a good question. Yeah, get owning player. Let's actually find out, because that's a good question here, actually. Okay, so the controller by default owns this. So it looks like our default controller owns it no matter what. That's probably what it is. The only reason I could really see this being useful is if you're doing a local multiplayer game, like split screen, and you want to know who the owning player is. Because we do have these things in here. Owning player, if it's a local player and things like that. That would be my only guess on that one. Because when you're doing split screen, you're still going to end up with one HUD, and you're going to have things assigned to a certain player, possibly. Because instead of doing our add to viewport, we'd add to the player screen. So I could see that being useful. But other than that, I never fill that in. Okay. Have you played Call of Duty Zombies? I have died a lot at Call of Duty Zombies. I'm trying to copy the way the actual weapon component flicks through a bunch of different models, like changing a component's mesh in-game. Well, you would just change the mesh. You could have an array full of, like we did. I don't know the. Here, let's find out. Call of Duty Zombies weapon selected. Let's see if we can find. Now, are we talking about like when you're creating the weapon and it shows the different parts of the weapon? Or are we talking about in-game like weapon selection? I'm not having much luck on the interwebs for. It's Exo Zombies. Let's see what Exo Zombies shows. It shows a 3D printer. Let's see. The random box. Yeah, see, I haven't. If you have a screenshot or a video of it, but I'm looking at the Exo Zombies one, the new one. Actually, this is Exo Zombies. This is probably what, Advanced Warfare? Yeah. And this one has like a 3D printer where it just shows a glowing model version of it. And all you're doing is just swapping out the model if that's the case. I mean, you're literally just swapping the static mesh component. And those are just, you grab your folders by building. You know, in code, all you would do is grab your static mesh and then just set the static mesh to the new mesh. Animated flicking through. So it's kind of like it doesn't just... if you have a video of it, show it to me. I'm guessing some material effect is what it's going to be. Kind of like it fades in and out of each material. Maybe lerping between the two of them. But material-wise. Yeah, if you have a video or a screenshot, try to post it. But I'm guessing it's a material issue. Material issue. I'm guessing it's a material effect is what I meant to say. Okay, so we have the ability to create an item. It's super generic right now. And it's also not... why is it not filling properly? We should probably figure that one out. No, okay, so here's what we need to do. Inside of our HUD for the RTS, we're going to have a array. An array or a map. Let's go with an array for now. And this will be our buttons that we're adding in. So this is going to be our action items. And this is going to be an array of action item. Like that. Because we're going to have to go through the array. Okay, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Cool. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to grab this. We're going to add an item to it like that. There we go. Yep. We're getting to somewhere. Seriously? No, that's a reference. That's the slot it goes in. Won't matter. Yep, we want the original item, and then we cast to it. Yep, okay. Cool. Brain's kind of working on slight sideways drive right now. But I think my brain knows what it's going to do. We're going to... So actually, this should probably be... I want to keep these things in order at least if possible. Like that. There we go. We'll call the add to the array first. And yes, in case you haven't watched before, I generally keep things ugly when I'm creating them, simply because we're experimenting. And then once we slowly start making things proper and better and locking down functions, we'll clean them up. Right now, we're just trying to make stuff work. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this for testing purposes. We're going to do a for loop. We're going to go from 0 to 8. So that'll give us 9 of them. And we are going to call that stupid function right here, create action item. I literally forgot what I called it. There we go, create action item. So this should give us 9 action items. And then, whoops, I lost it. And then once we add them, our array should have 9 of them in it when it's done. So let's verify that with a simple test. And we're just simply going to print out the length of our action items array as we go through it. So this should give us 1 through 9 once this runs. There we go, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, cool. We have 9 of them here. We just can't see them because they are stacked on top of each other, which is what our next function will do. So we'll add in a function. We'll call this one organize, layout. We'll do layout. Layout action items in action area. I'm going to make it really long because I get confused if I don't know what that does. So what this is going to do is it's going to loop through each of these. And we're basically going to move the row and we're going to move the columns as we go. So we should end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or technically index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it won't fill up anything. Yeah, it won't let you post a link. Just go ahead and post the end of the link. Like if it's on Imager, just the end of it. Or just remove the dot from the .com on whatever it is, and it'll be fine. I can figure it out. So it'd be like imager.com dot or imager.com / whatever, or Google Drive.com. Just remove the dots, and I'll figure it out. YouTube does not like people posting links, which is super annoying. Okay. Okay. Let's close down the stuff I'm not using right now because I'm starting to get lost. Okay. So I need to keep track, and there's a way of doing this with math, but I'll be damned. I was going to use modulus too. Well, you know what? Current column and current row. I'm going to do this. Whoa, that is kind of cool. It turned into a giant block because it's a widget. Sorry, just having fun there. I'm going to do something really stupid, and again, we're going to do this a simple way. Math, we can figure out the math to do this, but I don't want to figure out the math. So these are both going to start off at 0. Is it 0, 0? This is what we need to check. In our HUD, if we add in an item, whoops, we're going to add in 2 items, and we're going to double check. So 0, 0, 0, 1. So it is 0 based for our index. Okay, cool. Both rows and columns are 0 based. I assumed they were, but I wanted to make sure they were. So we're going to start off at 0, 0. We're going to grab the first action item. We're going to slot as uniform grid slot. This is going to end up giving us the grid slot, and then we can set the row and the column. So we're going to set the row, and we are going to set the column. Now, chances are, you know what? I'm going to set these at -1, and I'm just going to increment whenever we get here. I'm going to do that as the first thing. Increment the values, and then go from there. Cool. That'll be the smart thing. So this should actually be done here. So let's increment first. Let's disconnect that for now. And move this down a little bit. There we go. What we're going to do, first time we come through, we're at -1, -1. Or is it going to be 0, 0 the first time we come through? We're only going to increment, no, maybe it's going to be 0, 0, because we're only going to, oh shit. Damn it, why is it always the first time you run through an array you get confused? Well, let's just see. So our row, our column is going to be our first iteration through here. So if our column is less than 3, whoops, I wish you could type that straight in there, less than 3. So this means if we are currently not on our last column. So 0, 1, and 2 will be valid, so these are good. So we're going to do nothing if these are good. So if we're less than 3, that means we're not at the end of the row. We're going to continue on. And we'll fill up the false here in a second. Let me move this out of the way. We'll continue on. So let's see. Let's see. Do we still have room in this column? If we do, we're going to continue. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is another branch, because this is going to check the row. Is that really going to matter? Because technically, okay, so actually, no, because we want to fill out our false now. We're going to take our current row, and we're going to increment this. There we go. There we go. I think the brain's starting to put the math together here. And then we set our current column back to 0. Okay. This should, so if we're less than 3, we're good on the number of columns. So 0, 1, and 2 will be fine. We happen to be on 3 at this point in time. It's going to be false. It's going to come back in here. It's going to increment our current row, up 1 row, and set our column back down to 0. Oh, I know there's no way, I know there's probably a way of doing this with math, especially if you did things like the modulus. You make it's just so much more fun in my head. I hate math so much. Oh, JoviX is helping me. Same math, lot of less pluses. Your index will always be equal to y times the number of columns plus x. So if my index is 0, let's see. So let's go with JoviX's math. See, like I said, I didn't want to do the math, but let's see if we can figure this out. So the index of 0 times the number of columns is 3. Whoa, your index. My index is 0. Well, yeah, for optimization, but we're talking about barely anything in terms of math. Okay, now you're confusing me on my math here. Okay, JoviX says your index, so let's say it's 0 at this point. It'll always be equal to y times the number of columns. I have 3 columns plus x. Now I'm super confused. Can you put that into math? Even though that's math? I'm far from a math genius. Yeah, if you could roughly like put that into how we would check to determine which row and column it's supposed to be at, that would be super. Like, how would I set these ones? While he's doing that, let's see about doing this the stupid way. So this sets it back to 0. We're good there. We still have the room with the column. We're good there. So, yeah. Make it index. I have an index. The index always decrease loop tick. Well, it does automatically, so we don't have an issue there. You modulus the index with your row length 3. Yeah, see, that's... I didn't want to use modulus. Oh. Yeah, I was trying not to use modulus just because I hate modulus. Mainly because modulus requires me to think, and this requires less thinking. Even though it probably doesn't require less thinking. But let's get this working, then we'll see about switching over to a modulus. Because right now I actually just got completely lost on what I was doing. So this is going to increment the current row and column, so we're good there. So this is fine. In theory, if we get to the end, this should be fine. We're not incrementing anything, so that's kind of an issue. So the first time through will be here, and then we'll grab the current column, and we'll increment this. Yeah, let's see what stupidity happens here. Nope, they definitely did something wrong. I'm not, yeah, it would help if I actually plugged in the proper item to increment, which is going to be this element right here. Bloop. Nope, still didn't do it right. Dag damn it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Make it work, optimize it later. Or did I not call layout action items? I probably never even called my event, did I? Yeah, that would be helpful if I actually called the function I just created. I'm thinking. Okay, so we got something really stupid there. Obviously, we have something wrong in our math, but I'm not going to say whose fault that was. But it was probably mine. Okay, so we're going to come in here. Let's say our index is 0. Is our column less than 3? Yes, it is. Did I set these back to... Oh, I still have these as -1. That would be why. That would be an issue there for sure. There we go. It would help if I actually set it up properly. Okay, cool. So now in theory, if we did that right, and in theory is my favorite word, if we just change our loop to something like 4, we should get 5. Yeah, because 0 to 4. Duh. Okay, cool. So it's working. It's... The basic code is there. However many actual items we're going to create will actually show up properly inside of here. And they're all dynamic in terms of what we create. They're all super generic because we have no data on them, but the actual layout is going to work. I don't like the fact that our images... Oh, because our stupid images by default... No, our stupid images are set to... Okay, now you're going to annoy the hell out of me, aren't you? Yeah, they should be set to fill. Did I not fill? Oh, I have buttons. The button isn't set to fill. That's what it is. That's right, because we created an action item. I bet you the button by default is not going to be set to fill because by default it doesn't have a parent that allows it to have its alignment set to fill. So let's see, we create the item, we add it. Once it's as a child of the uniform grid panel, then we can still give me a reference to it. because no, this is just going to add it is all it's going to do. So now we're going to slot as uniform grid slot, and then fill. No, what is it? Where we go? Horizontal alignment to fill. To fill. Let's see if that fixes the issue. There we go. Now our buttons fit properly. I always remember the biggest key to remember with UMG is the one giant pain in the ass when you're doing things programmatically, because their slot properties, which control their layout, only exist if they have a parent. If you have something that doesn't have a parent, in this case, the base is my button, it can't technically ever have any slot layout properties until it's parented. So that's why we have to parent it to the uniform grid, and then we can change its alignment. But it's always, especially when people are new to a layout system like this, that's always confusing, because I seriously can't name my button. How about this button? There you go. There we go. It's always annoying because you're like, why can't I lay these things out? And it's because I don't like you, is what the user interface says. Okay, cool. Let's do some really stupid stuff now. Let's go back to our HUD. And in theory, the whole point of all of this was to create... I wonder if I should have made this a function. Why? You know, I'm going to make this a function. There's no reason this needs to be out here. Yeah, we'll just clean this up. There we go. Yeah, there we go. See, look, all that effort, we simply cleaned it up. To create action item. Let's see. Let's make sure we have the correct one. There we go. Nothing's changed, except what's now cleaned up a little bit. Cool. We're good there. Again, this is all for testing purposes, because this will be driven by the item, which we're going to work on here shortly. And by driven by the item right now, the whole point of all that crap was just so we could have a default action set up. That was that entire thing right there. Shoot. Now, crap. So in theory then, this right here, this entire debug thing is kind of what should be down here now. We'll create our default. Didn't I call it create default? What the hell did I call it? Show default. There we go. Yeah, that's down here. Nothing should change when I hit play. We just moved to, okay. So the point of this was to define our default action items and have them displayed on our screen. I think the biggest thing right now is we have no data to drive this. I didn't want to really do this data driven from the start, but it seems really stupid not to do it, because we just create a data table and have data in it. And it seems really stupid not to do that. If I can remember where data tables were at. There we go. Oh, I don't have a structure for the data table, so that doesn't help. So let's make a structure. There we go. So this is going to be our RTS HUD action item data table. Let's see. RTS HUD is the project name. Then we go data table, which probably should be DT. There we go. Yeah, it's slightly confusing, but here's our data table. I'll make this really simple. The main reason I need to do this was I want a texture to assign to the button, but I had nowhere to actually reference that anywhere. So this is the image. And I guess we could just give it a name as well. We'll go with it's going to eventually be a text, but text has bit me in the ass lately, so we'll just keep this a string for now. And we'll reorganize it like that. Okay, so let's go with that. Let's set a default image in here of an X, just in case we do nothing wrong. And this will be a blank item as our default. Okay, cool. So create action item. This is where we're going to have to do stuff. So let's grab our create action item. Let's slap some variables in here. We already have an image and a button. So let's grab, where to go? Expose on spawn. Oh, you can't friggin', that's right. Oh, that would be so nice if you could expose those things directly on spawn. Of course you can't, because it doesn't like you. This button, get, set brush. Set brush, make brush. Make brush, oh, for frick, set. Oh, I friggin' hate remembering the name of this one. From text, well, I'll just call it texture and it should work, right? Nope. Okay, let's be smart about this one because I'm being a dum-dum. The image is what I've been trying to do. Set brush from texture. See, it would help if you actually had the right thing selected. There we go. This is what I meant to do. And then I meant to do this, which is going to be the item image. And let's put action in front of that because we can. There we go. And this one's going to be a texture 2D. Where'd the texture 2D go? There we go. Texture 2D reference. Then we plug this one into here like this. Then we could expose this one to friggin' on spawn because you can't expose a widget on spawn. That was extremely stupid, but we don't care. Now we have an action item image here when we create action item. Now we do this one. So this will be the action item image, which is a texture 2D. Like that. We plug that one in there. There we go. So now when we call create action item image, we can fill in an image and it'll work. So now if I did that, we should get a bunch of little devil dudes. Cool. Let's see. I have a question. Yep, feel free to ask questions even if they're not part of the subject. We do the subjects because people aren't asking questions. Wondering how to save data. I started to do it as it explained on some videos with the Unreal way, with the save game. Cool. Save game objects are how you should do it. But then someone told me about the Victory plugin. Well, that's another way of doing it. Which way do you think works best? Your actual last part of your... Well, let's finish this off. Because I think the Victory plugin seems to be easier. You can write to the folder where to store data and so. But I will always depend on the plugin. And there you go. You actually answered your own question. The save game object is built into Unreal Engine and is part of the engine. So in theory, it should always work on any platform supported by the engine. So it uses things like the persistent storage on iOS and local folder on Windows and things like that. The Victory plugin is a plugin that Rama created, and it does things a different way. You can never guarantee it'll always be up to date. And if you don't know how to do C++ and you cannot maintain it, I would never recommend doing it. They're really nice and helpful, but at some point, if it breaks and you're in an actual production project, you're going to pay someone good money to fix that if you don't know how to fix it. That's just my personal opinion on that one. I've never used any plugins, mainly because I can't show people how stuff works with a plugin if they can't have the plugin, they can't download the plugin, or I can't assume that they're going to have the plugin. I'd rather just show how stuff works using in-engine stuff. But you had a very good train of thought on that one, correct. You would always have to depend on the plugin, which weigh the options, if it's worth it or not. For some people it is, especially if a plugin gives you something that's not easily in there, like direct TCP access, for example. You might want to have a plugin that exposes that to you, and then pay someone to fix it if it breaks. Or just hope it doesn't break. Okay, so inside of our HUD, I'm going to define default action items. And this is going to be an array of default action items, which is our data table. We were in the friggin' process of creating a data table, and I got distracted by my struct because we needed the struct. There we go. That's what I was trying to do this entire time. So we have our data table. Action. Oops. DT. Items. And this should not have been called DT. I just realized this was the struct, not the data table right there. No, wait. Oh, no. Seriously? Did I just... Oh, I renamed the data table to structure. Man, I forgot it moved it over there. There we go. Okay, now that we have things renamed properly, our struct is called a struct and our data table is a data table. But the point of this was so we could add in items like this. There we go. So, for example, should this be done by name or ID? Okay, let's see how. Okay. So here's a couple thought processes here. And I really didn't want to do it this way, but it seems stupid not to do it. It's probably easier than hard coding it. Our data table contains data about the action items. Right now it's just the name and the image, but later on it could contain things such as what it does. Is it a action like move, stop, hold? Is it a construction? For example, does it inform something to build? Is it a destroy? Is it an upgrade? It could determine what happens when we push this button. It's the data for the button itself, which is an action. Right now, it just contains the name and the image. So not a problem. That's good. It's a good way to start with, just the basics. The question, though, is, do we define one data table that contains all the actions available, everything in the game? Or do you define a data table per unit/building type? So, for example, I would have a base action items data table that would contain everything that when you don't have anything selected, so your default actions. Then, like a peon could have its own data table, a warrior could have its own data table. So you end up with one data table per, which makes things smaller. Or you end up with one data table that contains everything, which in theory should make it easier to maintain because you're not recreating anything. I'm leaning towards that second one because now that I'm talking about it, it seems like recreating the same attack, stop, and move for every unit would be stupid. So I'm going to go with that one. So let's give ourselves our structure here. Let's give ourselves an ID. I don't know if we're going to use it, but let's just give ourselves an ID. Mainly because, again, I have no clue if we're going to use it, but it can't hurt to have it. And we'll give it an ID of -1 just because we can. By default. Okay, so here we go. So let's do some generic stuff. No code's hooked up. Again, we're just trying to get something on our screen. I want to get it so we click on... I want to get before the end of the stream today, which probably half an hour to an hour or so, where we actually have different items we can click on and different stuff happens. So let's go with item ID, action ID 1, and this one will simply be move, because why not? And we'll call it that, and then we'll do the action ID 2. And our name will be, and the nice part about the data tables is technically we could do this all in Google Docs or Excel or something, and then inputting it by hand in here, worrying about collisions with different action IDs and such, would be less of an issue because it's easy enough to sort and have data validity inside of like Google Docs. I don't know why I'm using a row called ID. I literally don't know if I'll ever need it. I'm just putting it in here because I can. Because I'm designing everything without a design document, a lot of this stuff may not be needed. Yeah, and you can use the name row as the ID. Again, I don't know. I literally don't know at this point on what I'm doing for any of this stuff. We are just literally throwing stuff at the screen and seeing what happens. The nice thing is we can remove things as we don't need them. Stay, which will be that one, and this one will be screw it. I don't know. I have not RTS'd in so long. Do patrol, and we'll do. I'll make destroy simply because I can. Whoop, that's a number. I can actually control. I can make destroy work. So. And see, like something like this. So, for example, we have destroy as our row name, but name could be destroy this unit or this item. So we can have it more be something like that. Patrol between points, something like that. call this row name patrol. I'm just literally throwing in stuff at this point until we figure things out. Stay, you know, and name could be, you know, stay here, and then it could be a longer description if we want. I don't know, we'll figure this out. Move to this location. Okay, so we have a couple things. That's all I cared about right now. We just have some data in there, and we have some IDs for that data. So our default action items, this is going to be, we can stop this. This is going to be an array of integers. And this is what I wanted to do, 0 and 2. We'll nuke our for loop. We'll change this into a for each loop. And we'll grab our default action items and put it in there. We don't need our debug thing here. And then we're going to loop through each of these. This will create action items and layout action items. So this one should still be the same here. So we'll move over, stop it. Get row. Not the names. Get data table row, thank you. And our data table is our action items. Our row name is going to be, yeah, so we have to do it by the name unless we have an index. So yeah, we're going to have to change this into a name. Okay, so that'll work, I guess. I don't like, see, my biggest issue here is I don't like things that are prone to error. You're less likely to error if you use an ID that's a number. So for example, we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. Then if you were to have move, stay, patrol, and destroy. Because for example, what if you typoed and put an extra L in there? Or you have different languages and there may be a language issue. Using IDs would be better in my opinion. But we can cheat, can't we? Like this one? Yeah, okay. We can still cheat. Yeah, we can cheat. And then this one, if we get the element right here, oop, there we go. That'll work. That should work. Let's find out if it works. That's a good question. If it finds that row, we go into here, and then we can split, and this gives our ID, which gives our image, like that. And let's see what happens. There we go. Obviously, there's an issue because we only have 2 things in there, but it did properly pull out what I wanted. So if I was to go into here, for example, and say we had 3, 1, 0, 1, it should give us that. So now we can define based on the action items inside of the item which items are going to be displayed on our screen. Obviously, our layout sucks because I'm not putting blanks in there. I'm thinking I need to do that. Let's see how that works, because all the layout is going to do is loop through our action items, set a row, set a column. So if we were to, where'd it go? I lost all my stuff. Where'd they go? Right here, right? Yeah, here we go. So if we were to fill this in with blanks, because actually that would be kind of cool. Actually, I like that one. Actually, can we do? Can you do negative numbers in an array? I don't think you can, right? Oops, I did not mean to name that one. I don't know. Let's find out what happens here. I'm curious. Let's add a new row with -1. Let's give it a. See, the nice thing about this is you could give it a like a empty texture as a blank, basically. So in this case, we'll just go with that because that's an IES. That's not really going to work very well, is it? We'll go with the bokeh. That works. Okay. Yeah, let's try this. Close that out. Can we, let's see, I want to try something here. Oops, I didn't name that one. So let's, go back to our action items. Stop it. See, it would help if I named everything. Blank. There we go. That's what I meant to do. And then we go to here. Can we get -1 from an array? This is something I've never tried before. I don't think we can. We get no result here. If we get a 1, yeah. Okay, so you cannot get -1, unfortunately. Yep. Well, yeah. So yeah, like do DZUELU is saying negative numbers can be in the array, but you can't get a negative index. Yep, I kind of had a feeling, but you know, it didn't hurt. It took what, a minute just to verify that right there. The nice thing is we can easily do something like our good old 9999 is what we'll do. Which is probably not going to work. Yeah, that should work. Great, that should have worked. Right? Seriously? Hold on a second. Okay, that should have worked unless... it's not... Oh, yeah, it's not going to be... Oh, it's not going to be index 9999. That's right. Dagnabbit. See, I'm trying to cheat here without having to rename my base item. And it's just not going to cooperate, is it? Nope. See what you guys make me do? You make me do things proper. Which is totally rude. Okay, so... Oh, crap. It's going to make me do this. And then, you can't... Oh, you can't... Oh, you can! I did not realize you could move them. Well, Scooby-Doo on me. That's handy. Again, no one says this is the right way to do this. This is just the way I want to do this. Because we're trying stuff out. Okay, cool. There we go. Now we got the blank to work. That's what I was trying to do. There we go. Okay, cool. So 0 is defined as our blank now at this point in time. So if we were to properly do this, like for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we zeroed out the rest, then our UI would indicate we have 4 items that we can do. Yep, and then keep in mind, again, this is generic. I have 0 artistic skills. So in your oh, fuck's sake. The proper game with proper art, you'd have unique icons, and then, you know, you'd have something like, you know what? I have the internet. StarCraft 2 UI. There we go. So you have stuff like this. Come on, Google. Give me a big picture. So see how you have stuff. Oh man, that's really hard to see. But you can see you have blank spots for the UI, and then you have fixed spots for the UI. So by defining how your UI is set up, we can put things in certain positions. So by defining 0 as blank, we could technically put a blank image in there if we want to, for example. Or we could have it defined as part of the UI. You could have this like a locked icon if we wanted. So that was the point of that one. Now we have blank spots. My original thought was to fill in the remainder with blank spots, but I realized if we define it as our fixed list here, our 9, and we've put zeros in by hand, it allows us to do things kind of like what we saw before, where we could actually have certain items set to certain rows. So like we could have something like this, where our UI actually has blank spots, and if your UI wants to be customized, like your first row could be your commands, your second row could be all your builds, and your third row could be all your custom abilities, for example, if your game was designed like that. So this allows us to customize what we want. Cool. So that works. So, and the whole point of this is just to get a default actions in, because without default actions, we couldn't really do anything. What I do want to do is hook in some really stupid basic logic for the button right now, though, just to make sure that they're actually working. We don't have them referencing anything. We don't have them talking to anything. They're just dummy buttons. Okay, so they're dummy buttons that still work. I just want to make sure that they worked, because we'll have to override this with like an event dispatcher. I made a tic-tac-toe game inadvertently. Apparently so. Okay, and JoviX popped up a nice little way of doing the code without modulus, but it uses math, and math is the devil. Anyone who knows math, you're okay in my book. I should have learned a lot more when I was in school. I didn't, and I hugely regret it. Okay, cool. What were we doing? Oh, we want to make it now where we can click on something else and have it display its own stuff. So the first thing we need to do before I spend an hour figuring out why this doesn't work is to make sure we turn on click events. Without click events, you can't actually click on stuff. And that was so annoying when that happened during a game jam, and I forgot. Okay, so we have our building. We're going to go with our base building. We're going to slap a click event in here just to test it, because I personally believe you should test everything, assuming the cats let you. Okay, here we go. And this will be clicked. Clicked. Can I get language? Clicked on me. Yeah, let's save and compile. Let's slap ourselves a building in our level. Let's hit play. And we can't click. Of course not. Oh. That was the base UI eating everything, or is it because we're in UI mode? That is the question we have here. Or am I not using the right controller? Because that's always an option too. That happens. Click events, RTS controller. RTS controller. No, okay, so do I need to be in... Where's my HUD? Joint. Can we please? Thank you. Do I have to have game? I always forget this stuff if I need game mode in order to have click events work in the world. Yep. Damn, nabbit. Because I have UI only and I don't have game mode enabled, it's not allowing me to click inside. Yes, I could use get actor under cursor. I could use lots of things. Crap. Actually, you know what? Let's see if we can make it work where the UI isn't blocking. Let's find our HUD. And let's find our HUD. Yeah, see, hit test. Let's see. Oops, I need to actually turn that back to here. Pretty sure, yeah. See, it's pretty much going to block any element going into the game itself because we're on UI mode. So, crud. Let's try the other method. I've never really used the mouse. Oh my god, the stupid that Harry just mentioned it, and I literally completely forgot. Okay, get actor under cursor. I never used that, so let's learn to use that. Okay, so we cannot click here because it hates me. But our main UI, let's see, where'd our main UI go? Oh, I'm already inside of our main UI. Let's kill everything inside of here. Let's go to our override functions. On mouse, button down. Let's see, get actor. Let's see, get cursor. What's it called? Get. Let's just type cursor, probably faster. Get hit result under cursor. I think this is the one you mean right here. I don't think there's a get actor under cursor, is there? I think it's just the hit result. Well, this isn't an issue. Okay, so what's the node? Are you talking about this node, or are you talking about a different node? Okay, yeah. Gold. Okay, so let's see if this gives us anything, shall we? Break. Can we break this, please? Thank you. Move this over. Yep, I've never used this node before. I always use the on-click, but this is probably the smarter way of doing it anyways. Print string. And hit actor. Boop. Okay. Well, definitely not cooperating. So, is this even being called? Is the better question. Wait, it has to be being called, right? Yeah, but it's not returning a result. Here, let me override. Give me a second. I have not used UMG input events in a while, so yeah, see, I'm not getting. Oh, dagnabbit. I think it's because I was dumb and did that. I changed that for testing purposes. Nope. Oh, there we go. Yep, okay, cool. But it's only going through the UI element itself because it's being a giant pain in my ass. Which means I probably need a UI element on the background to take everything. Handled means basically whether or not the element, the UI element in this case, handles the input and absorbs it. So basically, if multiple things are listening for a mouse click and this gets called first, if I return handled, it's going to eat it and nothing else can have it. If it returns unhandled, it means, hey, I didn't do anything with it. Someone else can have a shot at it. Yeah, I have click events, but more than likely, it's because this, hit test, invisible, which is fine. The canvas panel like that. There we go. Yep. Cool. Just have to make sure the right friggin' hit results are turned on was all. So let's, hold on a second. Okay, just making sure I wasn't, it's the up that's calling that. So let's go back to our building. Let's kill that. Let's go back to our widget. Kill our mouse button up because that was for testing purposes. And now we should be able to click on anything, and anything that's valid. Obviously, things aren't valid should return a hit result. I don't know why my player's not, though. That's kind of cool, actually. So the building returns a hit result, but the player doesn't. The player doesn't return back a visible trace? Huh. Really? Why would the player not return back a visible trace? Because is visibility turned off on the player because this collision sucks? Well, let me nuke this stuff first. Player mesh. Character mesh. Yeah, visibility is set to ignore on the character mesh. That is super weird by default. I've never figured that one out. I remember running into that yesterday. That makes sense. It's just super weird. Yeah, he's not set to block for some reason. By default, the character meshes aren't set to block visibility. It kind of makes sense for the camera traces. I guess it makes sense because the camera traces, I guess. Let's see. So when you override functions there, if you have an action that's used when you click mouse, but you have that widget open, that action is overridden. So basically, right now, this user interface, when I hit play, this interface on the screen is taking all the input. if it wasn't set to take all the input, let's say the game and the UI was set to take input, and I clicked on the mouse and it went to the UI first, and I did on mouse button down and I returned back handled. What that means is the on mouse button event, this right here, this mouse input, this mouse event will stop right here. If this is unhandled, basically it will go up and down to other widgets. So if there's more than one widget on top of each other is what it's meant for. So like for example, if you had, let's say this was the background image, and then in front of it we had other things, and in front of that we had other things. It allows you to basically go down as far as you want. The nice thing about that is you could basically set up like an image in the background that's invisible and tell it on mouse down to handle everything. And that'll prevent any input from actually going to the screen itself. It'll block everything as the last layer. But if you put stuff on top of it, like buttons, and you miss the button or you hit the button, you could tell it to handle it or unhandle it. The key with that is basically, did you do something with this mouse click? If you did something with it, then say you handled it. If you didn't, leave it as unhandled and let something else go ahead and have a chance at it. Wow, that was horribly silly. Okay, cool. So we know this works. This is cool. This is a really cool node that I have not covered that I will apparently be covering because I like that node. Hit actor, and we're just going to do something really stupid right now. We're going to make ourselves an interface, and we're going to tell it to, well, not interface, interface. And that should probably be interfaces. Blueprints, interface, blueprint interface, blah, 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 blah. Can show HUD. You know what? I'm going to do it this way because I feel like doing it this way. And we'll see how this works. Show HUD. Okay. Bloop. Show HUD. Bloop. Like that. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do, this is my theory on this one. If something can show a HUD element, which probably shouldn't be called HUD. What are we going to call it? Show action items. We're going to call it show action items because that was smarter. And then we're going to change our interface to can show action items. If this interface is on something, when we click on it, then we will know that this item can change the action items portion of our HUD, and we're going to call the appropriate functions based on that. So this will allow us to, for example, if we click on the ground, and it doesn't implement as show action items, we know that we should display the generic interface. But if something can change it, we're going to display something specific. So it allows us to easily know if we're clicking on something that should take control of our interface, basically. And good day, Marcellum, to the best of my statements. And James, anyone else who may have popped up. We are getting there. We're definitely getting there. So let's grab our building. Our building can show action items, so we'll go ahead and do that. We have action items yet, but we can show action items. So we know that. And we don't need this for now. Here's our HUD, which is basically going to grab our hit actor. Does it implement our interface we care about? Can this, oops, that's can upgrade. We want can show action items. There we go. Do a simple if. Boop. Okay. And there we go. So, bloop, like that. And then we're going to grab the item we talked to, and we're going to tell it to show action items. And the nice thing is, in this false right here, we're going to set this to, what was it? Show default. Oh man, what did I name that thing called? What the hell did I call it? Oh, I'm in the widget right now. Duh, it's not going to work like that. I'll have to, well, I can do it right now. Get game HUD, or get HUD. Why is it called game HUD? You tell me I can't get the HUD from the widget? Get HUD. Did I literally type in get HUD? Oh, because I was dragging on. I hate how pure nodes don't show up when you grab off and execute. That's like something I would fix if I had the ability to. Okay, we're gonna cast. There we go. We're gonna cast this to our RTS HUD. We're gonna make sure it's pure, and then we are going to. Now we're gonna show the default action items. There we go. Again, not probably the smartest way of doing this, but this is the way I'm gonna do it because things are gonna break. But I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. Okay. So I already I need a return node. That's why it's bitching at me. There we go. Now I already know this is stupid because it's going to basically duplicate the existing HUD multiple times. I just don't have this code finished yet. We're in the middle of it. Why pure cast on this? I pure cast so I didn't have to run an execute wire through it. That was all. I know this is going to be in HUD RTS all the time because this is the widget attached to the HUD RTS. So I don't have to worry about it failing. So it's just an easier way of not having to hook up another execute wire. That's all. I mean, that's pretty much the biggest difference. Or, sorry, biggest difference. The biggest reason. Okay, cool. Show action items in here. Performance-wise, it's probably a little quicker, but I don't think much. I don't think in terms of performance, the difference between that and this is really going to matter at all. My biggest difference is I don't have to hook this stupid thing up. That's my only big thing. And then technically also, watch what would happen because I'm inside of a return event. Let's say I did hook it up like this and I compiled. I'm going to get another error. Whoops, I need to plug this one in. I'm going to get a warning because my failed doesn't have a return on it. See, now this in theory would be a good spot to do this because you're not really doing anything. So, I mean, that would be a good example of that, of casting it. Either one works. You can do a pure cast whenever the hell you want. Seriously, you can do it whenever you want. You shouldn't do it if you don't know for sure. I do it when I know for sure because I'm making this example for myself and I know these things are this way. Double damn it, sorry about that. I hit mute to answer a phone call and my microphone doesn't like unmuting. Sorry about that. What I was basically saying is this is a good way of showing an example of unhandling. No, I have a mute button on the microphone, but the mute button has to be hit in the right spot or it doesn't work, and it's super annoying. Sorry about that. What does what do? I have a few things here. So, Marcelam, if you tell me what you want to see more of, let me know, and we'll go from there. But at this point, we need to hook this up. We need to hook up our show action items inside of our building. So we'll do show action items, which is our message event. And all this is going to do is pass along our information, this interface. All my interface does, where'd it go? I lost my interface. It's just got a generic stubbed event that's going to pass this information on back to the HUD, which actually I still need to finish it. You don't really need to learn much about handled and unhandled, honestly. If you did something call it handled. If you didn't do anything, call it unhandled. That's honestly the easiest way of thinking about it. You could technically return handled for everything, and as long as you don't all of a sudden run into an issue where something's not working, you're fine. You could technically call unhandled on everything, but the biggest difference with unhandled is you're allowing other stuff to do things. So if you want multiple things to react when you click the button in the same spot, unhandled is fine. If you only want one thing to happen, then you probably want handled. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to do, this is going to be our default action items. And I got to stop doing that. It's an integer. Okay. And we'll make sure this one's 9. And we're going to go with 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. There we go. So we'll know it's completely different at this point in time. Now, the only reason I want to do it like this, have the item pass the information to the HUD rather than the HUD get the information from the item, is just in case we want something to happen. I want to give this item a chance to do something. I don't really know what or when or why or if I'll ever use it, but this is the simplest way I can think of doing this. Seriously. Yes, I know it's off the player controller. Player controller. You know, it would also be nice if there was a hotkey to uncheck and check. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm gonna find out if there's a hotkey now that I mentioned that. Where's my keys? Wait, it's not in the project. It's probably in the editor settings. Keyboard. Here we go. Context. It would have been nice if there was a way to have a hotkey in the context menu to toggle on and off context sensitivity. That would just be really nice. Okay, so we're talking about lots of really nice stuff that's not massive. Okay, so we're going to grab the HUD. We're going to cast it to our RTS HUD. I know it's pure. We're going to keep it pure. And then I don't think we ever put an event in here to actually handle our stuff, did we? Where did my event graph go? Here we go. So we have our begin play, which initializes our first one. We have our show default, which is good. And then we have our create. So we don't actually have an event in here to update the action items. So we're going to call a new custom event called update action items. I don't think there's a reroute hotkey. I just double click. That's the easiest way for me to make reroutes. I'm also apparently dying on my end. Stupid colds. Okay, so update action items. Now, again, I'm going to do some stuff really stupid here, but that's because this is the way I want to do it. We need, here we go. So we have our action items, not action area reference. That's what I was looking for. We're going to grab our action area reference, and we're going to clear the children. And apparently I can't spell clear properly. There we go. This should get rid of everything inside of there, so we should no longer have any widgets. And then we're going to remake our widgets based on the information that we're being passed in. So we're going to do this. This is going to be the new action items. And the funny part is once we get this done right here, pretty much it's pretty much this code right here, just with a different one passed in. Actually, it is literally this exact same code. So we're actually just going to cut this code out of here and paste it into here like that. And then we're going to delete default action items. We're going to call update action items. We're going to finish making update action items with the proper input. This is an integer array, like array. Can we have an array, please? Thank you. Like that. And then this one can be default action items like that. There we go. So let's see what happens. Now we just need to call this from the appropriate spot. Go back into here and we'll do update action items. We'll pass in our array of items and event show action items. Does our HUD show default event show action? Yeah, I literally don't know what's going to happen. Let's find out. Oh, that's just weird. Oh, look at that. It's not clearing out at all. Oh, seriously, why are we not clearing our children? Somebody, the code was working fine, but this was not working at all. Why was that not working? Let's see. Here's our play. Also, for reference, the right mouse button works just like the left mouse button when you have the mouse button down. So right clicking is causing issues. There we go. So okay, so we obviously have something really stupid going on here. Let's see if we can figure it out. Let's hit play and escape. No errors. Play, click, errors. There we go. So let's walk through our code, shall we? Where'd my code go? Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. I'm pretty sure I'm still in the wrong friggin' code section. Yep. I'm trying to go to the HUD and I can't find where I put my HUD. There we go. Okay. Let's break through the stupidity. What stupid stuff did we do here? Okay, so this is our issue right here. I never clear out our action items array. Is what it is. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm pretty sure that's the stupidity that I've introduced into here. We clear out our action area reference. So these are the, this is our panel that's holding everything, but our, where's it at? Right here. When we're adding things to our action items array, we're never actually clearing that out. So, action items, clear, and let's try this again, shall we? Go hit play. There we go. So now when I click on something that has items, it's going to give me the items. If I click on nothing, it's going to give me nothing. Well, technically, it's not going to give me nothing. It's going to give me whatever my default is. So if, whoa, did that just give me something weird? Or, no, that's just my brain seeing weird stuff. Okay. So if we were to, the nice thing is at this point, if we were to just simply take like this other item, this is our unit, for example, which actually has nothing in it. Let's set him up. These are just going to be my parent classes for the items and stuff once we start subclassing some things in here in a second. But I just want to, we'll make him a cone because we can. There we go. So there's our unit right there. We'll throw our unit into here. I'm going to grab him, steal his code because this is code I'm basically going to have inside the other unit here. Delete it. Make sure he knows he can show action items. Implement his show action items in here. Create a new variable called default action items. Compile. Set it up properly. Dot 22. That's not going to work. 2, 2, 2, 3. 3. For the love of Pete, give me 3. 4, 3, 2, 0. There we go. And now, in theory, I should be able to have, just like that, 3 different setups just by simply altering that simple array which defined our action items. And if we wanted any of these to be different, we just update our data table and they update automatically for anyone who implements those events. Now, I don't know if this is the most efficient way of doing it. basically clearing out and recreating the widgets every time. I definitely know in terms of an optimization, which I'll go in. We're pretty much wrapping up for today in case anyone hasn't figured it out yet. We're going to still work on it Friday because obviously I'm going to keep adding more to this, make it better. My goal was just to get something working today. A basic simple operation in here is don't have this get called if it's the same stuff, if that makes sense. So for example, current action items. We'll go something like this. Actually, I could probably add it in right now. So here's our action items. This is when we called in. Here's our current action items. We'll get that. Shoot. How do you compare arrays together? Can you compare arrays? I've never done that before. Would you literally have to step through it all? Man, you'd have to, huh? Yeah, you'd have to iterate over the entire array. I'm wondering if simply storing the current selected item would be smarter. I bet you that would be smarter. Since we're already capturing it on our hit. So for example, current selected object. And then we switch this into an actor. Can I have an actor, please? Like this. There we go. So we have current selected object. And then where is our update action items? Where'd my update action items go? So, oh, it's right here. I'm a new object selected actor. I don't know why I'm calling this actors and objects, but I like actors better. Get, because this is a really simple check right here. There we go. This should work off the top of my head. And we just make sure we pass in the current selected. Oops, false. There we go. I did that yesterday, Monday, and that failed miserably. Yeah. So if the new selected object is equal to the current selected object, then we'll go ahead and just do nothing here. So string same object. No need to update. And if it's not, then we'll do that. So now whenever this is called, let's find out what calls this. We need to pass in. So this one will be a reference to ourself. And then we will go uncheck, find it in every blueprint. And we will go update that in every blueprint. So here we go. This one is going to be the unit. So this one's going to be a reference to ourselves. Like that. And we'll go back into here, find updated here. Whoops. So like that. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, obviously the code didn't work for some. Oh, probably because I'm not storing it. Duh. Great, I lost my code again. Wait, where did I lose my code? There we go. So the current selected object equals new selected object. If it is, we do nothing. If it's false, then we need to store the current selected object as the new selected object. Boop, like that. And obviously that failed. See what happens when I try to do something at the end, right at the end? Okay, so let's see where our brain failed on this one. I'm passing in a new object. I'm comparing it to the current selected object. If they're the same, oh man, did I plug in true? Seriously? Okay, well, it still didn't work. What the hell? Okay, now I'm starting to get annoyed here. Oh, probably didn't help that. There we go. Okay, I got it working if I would have friggin' actually plugged in things properly. There we go. So now it's only going to update if we're clicking on the same a different object. So now you can see me clicking on nothing, no need to update. This doesn't refresh. We click on here, it refreshes. I can click again. There we go. Yep. Okay. So I did have it right the second time. I just forgot to plug that in. There we go. Cool. So that's a simple optimization there. Now, only if we're clicking on something different. And it's going to go based on the object itself. So it shouldn't be going by the name. So let me verify this before I sound stupid. It should keep things different. So no need. And this should update. So yeah, it'll continue updating between the two different objects, even though they're the same class type. They are different physical actors in the world. We have building and building 2. So that's why. Okay, cool. I didn't want to say that was going to work without testing it. Okay. Let's see. Simple example of how to change the settings quality of the game using the combo box. Settings quality of the game. I made a non-simple example of that. There is a game user settings tutorial that covers how to do the quality settings. Let's see if mine comes up first. Oh, it did come up first. So we have, here is the game user settings. Let's go to the playlists. Playlists. Of course, I'd have to find it. And here we go. Game user settings, all nodes. Here's a playlist that has a bunch of videos. How many videos do we end up in here? Where'd it go? 34 videos for the playlist. And this covers the game user settings. But all the way throughout here, we get all the options. And there is an example you can download that's in the description right here in the GitHub that will give you a complete project that has a overall settings. We are looking at which one is it? Overall scalability level. This is the actual node you're looking for. So this video itself covers just the overall scalability. So yeah, it's on my channel if you want to look at that. Here's one simple video that'll cover just the overall scalability node. And you can just put these in a combo box and you just change it based on the values. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I want to say now. Settings 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 0, 1, 2, and 3 are the settings for the scalability. You can't go to cinematic in editor play mode. It's only for editor stuff right now. It'd be cool if you could make a tutorial on difficulty settings. Difficulty settings are subjective. They are going to be based on your game itself. A simple one on how to save settings and make it change hit points, for example. That's a possibility I could do. That's not too difficult. You'd define the setting, use the setting as maybe something like a multiplier. So easy would be 1. Easy could be 0.5, for example. Normal could be 1. Hard could be 1.5. And then anywhere you calculate values, you just multiply it by the difficulty setting. And you can use a save game object to save that out to a save. That shouldn't be too hard. If you still need that roll-ins, try to stop by on Friday, my next stream, around the starting time, around 10, and let me know before I get into stuff like this for next Friday. I keep saying next week. And we can probably knock out something pretty simple. Federer. You're asking me, it'll cover the overall what? I went over a couple different things. Anything in particular you were referring to? I kind of got lost myself. And hello, Nanopan. But I think we're done for now for this. For today. This is what the basics I wanted to accomplish. I've got a default menu. Obviously, we have buttons that work because they do say hello. They're not linked to anything yet. We've never actually set up like a action manager or a building manager or anything like that. We don't actually tell anything to do anything. We just have buttons that react. These aren't going to be too bad. We'll set up some event dispatchers and figure out a way to set up interaction. We can change our UI technically dynamically at this point in time. We click on anything that supports the ability to change the UI, and it will change it to whatever we tell it to. So Friday will be the next stream. It'll be roughly 2 hours before now, 10 o'clock Pacific. And we will work on adding some more stuff in. We will, of course, work on answering questions. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them during the stream. They don't have to be as part of the stream. We'll do our best to answer them as we can. In addition to that, I'm streaming on Beam, Twitch, and YouTube. You can leave comments on any of those, and you can watch the replays. The replays will show up on Beam and Twitch after a few minutes. On YouTube, the replays will be archived, and they show up in about 2 hours. If you need to contact me, my email address is on the About page on YouTube, or just leave a comment on like one of these videos in regards to what you're looking for, if you need help with stuff like that. The easiest way, honestly, though, is to catch me on the streams, so I can try to show you to do something if I know how to do it. Feel free to ask anytime during the stream. Obviously, if I can't do it at that time, I'll try to put it for another stream, or I'll try to accommodate as I can. Friday, we'll be working on more of this thingy right here, this RTS thing. I'm happy with the progress we made today. We'll try to make it where we actually have stuff do things. So I can, for example, click on this. Well, we'll have to fix our camera. So we'll work on fixing our camera to make it kind of generic. We'll have it where we can click on a button. I can have a unit attached to my screen, my mouse cursor, and place it somewhere. And then we'll have the ability to click on that something and then have it have its new interface and have it do stuff. We'll see if we can get a basic event dispatcher event system working to try to make it where our buttons aren't just user interface, but they actually do stuff properly based on the data tables we designed. Other than that, I hope everyone at least got some questions answered if they had any. If not, again, you can contact me through any of the other places. Again, oh, I forgot two things. Didn't forget two things, I forgot one thing. The next stream will be Friday, again, 2 hours before now. But tomorrow is Epic's stream. It's at 11 o'clock Pacific, so roughly 1 hour before now. I don't stream on the days they do. And the event will be Robo Recall Mod Editor with Chance Ivy. I watched Zach cover how to do this stuff at GDC. Robo Recall, first of all, is friggin' awesome, but they made a really nice mod system inside of Robo Recall that's really nice, and just nice is honestly the only way to put it. It's really well done. So this is what's going to be covered tomorrow on tomorrow's stream. He's going to cover how it works and how you can do stuff like that, and that's it. So I will see everyone on Friday if they show up. If not, tomorrow the Unreal stream. Hopefully everyone, again, has a good rest of their day. I'm going to let the stream idle for about 30 seconds so I don't just disappear into the other. Other than that, have a good rest of your day.